Overwhelm is an issue that people have been reporting to me in therapy this week. And we often misunderstand, I think, what overwhelm is. First of all, overwhelm's not always a you problem. However much it might feel that way, overwhelm is also a feature of the 21st century and this mad acceleration that we're all being forced to keep up with. Overwhelm is a great word. It's from Middle English, whelmen, to be covered over by a wave. And something that I really like about the word is it locates the problem not in your head, but in the wave. The wave is real. This acceleration that we're living through, this speed of all of the inputs coming into your life now, is really hard for a human being to deal with. And so it feels like it's your fault. It feels like guilt. It feels like a tearfulness, an inability to keep up, a feeling that you're not coping and you're being left behind. So this problem for the world very much shows up for us as our problem. And that's what's so difficult about overwhelm. Like, people think it's just them. And most of us actually now are having to live somewhere in this space between, feeling vaguely guilty and actively tearful about how it feels to be right now. Modern life requires speed, but humans are not fast processors. This is another common misunderstanding about who we are. Houseflies are fast processors. As your slow motion hand comes to swat the housefly, it has time to plan its whole day, before your hand gets anywhere close. Houseflies are fast processors. We're not. Humans are not fast. Humans are deep. We do something very different in our existence. Human consciousness deepens when we dwell with something. I don't know if you've ever spent some time by the sea, but if you spend an hour by the sea, you come away changed by it. Something of the sea has arrived in you and you carry that away with you. The world and the mind need to arrive into each other. Because we don't just sit by the sea, we sit with situations until our mind arrives into the situation and the situation arrives into our mind. This is how we do these amazing human things. It's how we solve problems. It's how we're creative. Not by reacting, right? Not by being fast. The thing that makes us human is actually our resistance to speed. I think about making tea. Sorry, this is such a British thing to say, but like a day on Earth is a bit like making tea. You need to leave the tea bag in the water for long enough for something to arrive. Right? But the productivity culture is it's like making you dunk 100 tea bags in a row into the water, but without leaving any of them for long enough for something to change, for something to happen. This is the culture we live in, a culture of great acceleration. It's not on you, right? This is not just you who's feeling overdriven, who's feeling dehumanized by the time that we're living in. You and I can't fix this culture of acceleration, but we can stop it making us sick. Now, the first thing is to notice that overwhelm is not a problem in your head. Right? Remember this clue in the word. It's a breaking wave that's covering us. The problem is not in our head. The wave is real. So overwhelm is not a feeling that you're having. It's an experience that you're undergoing. And it's the experience of the 21st century, probably the signature experience of our time. It just feels like it's your fault. Right? So the guilt attaches to you, right? This feeling of franticness attaches to you, but it's a frantic century. Right? This is important to remember. The second thing that really helps is to know that it doesn't work to try to match the energy of that wave that's rolling you. And the world is always saying, you know, do more, feel more, optimize more, be more. But more is not a human answer. So the next time that feeling, that experience of overwhelm arrives, you know, the dread, the guilt, and the franticness, maybe you can try to pause. Maybe you can try to let one thing fully arrive in your attention. I don't know what that might be. You might look at your hand, right? You might really notice it. You might look at it in the light that there is and think, you know, here it is. I'm gonna let that arrive and let that take the time it takes to arrive for me. Or maybe it's a person with you. Maybe you can look at their face, right? Maybe you can just be with them. Maybe you can let something of them arrive with you and something of you arrive with them, and let that take the time it needs. Not because that's going to solve overwhelm, right, in your life or in the 21st century, but because it's going to quietly refuse the acceleration that causes the overwhelm. And in that refusal, maybe something really human begins to return. Whatever your experience is with overwhelm, I wish you really well with it. And I'd like to remind you, as I always do, that your mind is a very sensitive instrument. Your life is a very sensitive art form. It's going to pick up on what's happening in the world. And what's happening in the world is a crisis. So the way it's going to feel for you is a crisis, but that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Right? There's something very human about you. If you're feeling a bit frayed by the experience of being in this world at the moment, but there is a way of noticing that that's a feeling, letting it arrive with you, and not necessarily feeling the need to fix or to cure that feeling, but just to letting it be there, to be with it and to be human with it. I wish you really well.